Hey guys, welcome to Mike It Yourself. Today's review Wednesday, and today's kind of a different type of review because it's going to be a review update, and that update is to the air suspension that we put on the 2017 Road Glide. So I had shock failure while on a ride. I don't know if it was already failed before me taking off or as I rode. And I'll show you a clip of kind of what I was doing. So I was actually on a ride testing something else out, and as I was going, I noticed I was bottoming out. And I've had some air leak problems in the past, and it's typically been like around the couplers, the fittings that go either into the dump valve or the T fittings that kind of split off all of the tubes, and just hit them with some soapy water, and I've usually found them. But this time it was a little bit different. So I thought it was the same issue. And yeah, so take a look at this clip real quick and you'll see what I mean by I started having issues. Here and see what we got going on. All right, I'm not supposed to go this way, but desperate times, my friends, desperate times. All right. Yeah, so you can see I'm only sitting at 60. So when something's moving, because I tested this recently and didn't find any leaks, so it seems like it's not until the bike or things are shifting around that I start losing air. All right, so immediately I was like, I need to turn back, something's going on, let me figure it out. Brought it into the garage, pulled that side panel off, and this is what I found. So I don't know if that's what that is. Is that moisture that's gotten into my shock on the other side, or is that the oil? Or so it doesn't feel like, if it is oil, it's not very what's the word I'm looking for, like greasy feeling. All right, so like liquid coming out. I was confused. I was like, what is this? Like, is moisture in my shock? What the hell is this stuff? Because it kind of had like a rusty color to it. So I was thinking maybe I got some fluid, some moisture into the shock, and that's what was coming out. Because, you know, when you deplete the air system, it doesn't like 100% take all of the air out through the dump valve. Some of that's still in the line. So when you disconnect the line from the T fittings, then you get a little bit of that output there. So that's what I thought. It was like just this fluid coming out. Said, you know, it's kind of weird. So I put stuff back together thinking it was going to be fixed, and it wasn't fixed. So I was still leaking some air, and I've pressurized the system no more than 80 PSI. These shocks are supposed to hold up to 150 PSI under a full load. So I was nowhere near that. So I didn't push these beyond their limits, but let me show you what the end result was as I started looking a little bit deeper at the shock. So once I saw that liquid coming out and it wasn't fixing it after I addressed any of the loose T fittings, I was a bit concerned. So I said, you know what? I don't have time for this. I'm going to put the stock shocks back on because I have them, because I apparently don't throw any old parts away. And as I was taking off the air shocks, I discovered what my problem was. So let me show you what that is. All right, so here is, this is the right side, and these are Monroe 785 or MA 785s. So these are actually shocks that would work for older Corvettes, and they found that these would actually work for the Harleys. So when you buy these kits with the Monroe shocks in them, that's actually what they are. So you get a set of these for like 80 bucks. But of course, it's just the shock. You don't get the dump valve. You don't get the air compressor or any of that stuff. So this is what it looked like. Once I took it off, I noticed that it was extended, and as I put some pressure on it and I let it go, it extended itself again. And I said, oh, okay, you know, that's just, I guess, how they are, whatever. This is the shock that was on, I'll show you that. This is the shock that was on the left side. And when I took this off and laid it on the ground, not only was it leaking fluid, in fact, let's take a look with that. Look at that, still coming out. I noticed that it stayed collapsed. It wasn't kind of rebounding like the other one. So what that tells me is that fluid that was coming out is actually the shock oil that was in these, because inside the air shocks, my understanding is there's, you know, a mix of air and the fluid, right? Well, what separates those two, I believe, and that's without having to cut this open, so I'm kind of guessing a little bit here, like what do you call that, an educated guess, is that there is a O-ring of sorts, some type of seal in here that separates the fluid from the air. So you pump in air, that puts pressure down, or whatever. Well, apparently at some point in time, either that seal failed because it was imperfect, or somehow I hit something hard enough where I blew my shock out. So now that's done. I don't have a way of correcting that without having to buy a whole new set of shocks, which is kind of a pain. So what do I think of the air ride now, right? Hands down, it looks so freaking cool, right? You dump the bike in a parking spot, right? You go to a bike show, car show, whatever, like kind of gathering or whatever. Your bike looks dope. Being dropped down, having the extended bags, it makes it look amazing. The ride, not too bad, right? Because it's adjustable. But the fact that I constantly had to address leaks, and not because it was a cheap system per se, you know, I thought that's what I was thinking is the T-fittings maybe were just junk or something like that. Well, that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems that the shocks, either I got a bad one or the Monroe shock itself isn't as great quality as I thought they, you know, I believe they once were. So unfortunately at this point then, system's out. Now I've just got to determine, do I want to, you know, invest the money to fix that, which is about 80 bucks for a pair of shocks, or do I just start looking for something a little bit better, a little bit more worthwhile as far as a better ride on the Road Glide? Because the reality is you don't dump it that often, depending on, you know, it's seasonal, right? So during the winter, the car gatherings, the car shows, stuff like that, that doesn't happen as often. So yeah. And again, I mean, it looks super, super cool. And I've had this same struggle with my Cholo bike, is you do these things because you want it to look really, really cool. And then you find out functionally, it just doesn't work out, right? Like you're just like, damn, I love the way it looks, but it rides horrible, or it's just not what I had expected. So in this particular case, I think that's what I've run into with the air ride on the Road Glide. So if you're, you know, willing to kind of put up with some of these challenges, then hands down, like I said, it's cool, man. It looks cool as hell. And definitely there's probably kits out there you're going to pay maybe $2,000 for that. Maybe they won't have the issues, or maybe they will. Maybe they'll have the exact same issues. I couldn't tell you. So if you had better experience, you know, I definitely would love to hear from you. Drop that in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope maybe it brings you some value. It brings you some insight to some of the struggles that you may have if you're looking to upgrade your touring bike suspension to an air suspension, this could be the deciding factor for you. Either way, I just hope my video brought value to you. If it did, hit that thumbs up. If you enjoy my content, become a subscriber. I really want you to be a part of our community. I hope to bring you more insight, more things on either, achievements, failures, just general feedback, whatever. And then if you don't want to miss out on that next video, hit the notification bell. That way you get a notification letting you know that the next Bike It Yourself video has posted. And until that next video does post, I'll see you in the wind.